Hello and welcome to another in the series of webinars from the National Extension College. I'm Esther Chesterman, I'm the head of the college, and I'm delighted to be welcomed by two people who are going to be talking all things flexible progression. So first I'd like to introduce Kerry Rose. Kerry, you've got two hats on today. You are a trustee of the National Extension College, so we know each other well, so thank you for joining us. But also with your other hat, you're part of the marketing and communication team at the Open University. So welcome, I'll be handing over to you in a minute, and you're going to talk through the progression that the Open University can offer. But also, you've brought along with you, virtually, you've brought along Daisy Main. Hi, Daisy. I believe you're a student at the Open University and looking forward to hearing about your decision to choose to study in that way and your journey so far. So really delighted, and hopefully many of our students will really be inspired by your story and answer a few questions for them, I'm sure. So you may be watching this either as a National Extension College student already and considering your progression routes, what's on offer for you, or you may be considering doing your GCSEs or A-levels in a distance learning manner, whether it's with the National Extension College or a different provider. And then thinking about your next steps after that. If it's something that really works for you, that's brilliant. So how can you continue with your studies further? So we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So maybe just note down your questions as you're running along. But if you want to type them in the chat, please do. That's brilliant. And do say hello if you've joined us from anywhere. Type everything in the chat, and then we'll either pick them up at that moment, if that's okay, Kerry, if it's really relevant for something you've specifically said. Or we'll save them all till the end, and then we'll just have an open Q&A at the end and perhaps a little dialogue around some of the things that Kerry and Daisy have brought up. So thank you for those who said hello already. Very, very brave of you. It's not always very, very easy to say hello on a chat, but lovely to meet you all. Great, Kerry, I'm going to hand over to you now. I think you've got a set of slides to take us through. I'm really looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you, Esther. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for having me. Hi to everyone who said hello in the chat. It's lovely to hear from you. Please do keep the comments coming as we go through the session. So as Esther said, today is just food for thought, helping you think differently about university. Some of you may already know exactly what you want to study and where, and others might not be so sure yet, and that's completely normal. So my aim is to just talk to you about an option at the Open University that gives you flexibility and control. So you might be asking, what is it for me? One of the biggest questions I think potential students always ask is, well, is university really for me? And at the Open University, we are open to everyone. Whatever your background, whatever your ambitions, you don't have to fit a particular mould. Many of our students do not. And at the Open University, your degree is delivered fully online. So what that means is different to potentially a traditional experience is you study when and where it suits you, at a pace that works for your life, and you don't have to put your life on hold or the things you want to do to study for the degree you want. So it's something that works for some people really well, and of course not for others. Everyone has their own personal preferences. It's delivered by experts. So although it is online doesn't mean alone. For every module that you study in your journey, you'll have a dedicated tutor. Sometimes we call them associate lecturers, and they support you, they're on hand, and they mark your work. And we also have dedicated student support teams that are on hand all the time as well to give you support when you need it. So supported online learning is very much the Open University model. And many of our tutors work at other universities. Many of them bring professional expertise from their sector. So by sector, I mean if they work in finance or law or biomedical science, they're bringing that practice into their teaching. So you're learning from experts who understand both theory and, of course, practice as well. Now, everything, I guess, is designed to fit around lives in this online model. So whether you are working alongside a degree. You might be caring for somebody in a different kind of training. And many of our students compete in sport, or perhaps live or work or travel abroad, pursuing other interests. Their education is working a little bit more around their lives. So that's how I guess we make sure it's built for you. It's quite a different model. Now, a little bit more about the Open University. So a couple of facts and stats. We're a big university. We've got 200,000 students in the UK and internationally. The only university that operates across all 4 of the nations: England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and we have an international presence as well. About 15% of our students are international, learning in cohorts and modules with our UK students. We were founded on a simple belief that higher education should be open to people, whatever their circumstances. Proud to say that it is award-winning education. In 2023, the university was awarded gold overall, the highest award in the Teaching Excellence Framework. And we also got gold for student outcomes and silver for student experience. So really pleased with that Teaching Excellence accreditation. We're also ranked in the top 3 universities for employability by UniCompare, and that reflects the work that we do on placement opportunities, industry links, and career support, which I'll come on and talk about a little bit more in a moment. We've got lots and lots of courses available. Here are some of our popular courses on the slide, but must go and take a look. There are many different pathways that you may take. Here are some of them from business, psychology, computing, areas of health, law, education, the arts, lots of options. And if you're not ready yet to commit to just one subject, we do have another route as well, which I will come on to in a little moment. The other interesting thing is that you can build your qualifications step by step. So although you're signing up to a qualification at the beginning, you're actually starting with getting your certificate of higher education. You're progressing to your diploma and then to a full degree. So, at any point you can decide to pause, step off, and you'll still have achieved that milestone qualification when you get to those levels of credits. And just to kind of play a little bit on the flexibility, you can complete your degree, most of our degrees, between 3 and 6 years, depending on how intensively you study modules. So that means that if you want to focus and complete in sort of 3 years, you can do that. If you want to flex this up and down and go more towards the part-time route, which is 6 years, you can do that depending on other commitments or things that happen in life along the way. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that we had another option if you're not quite ready to commit to a particular pathway, which is the open degree. And essentially, this is an open box degree, really. It's designed by you, for you. So you can combine modules and pathways to create more of a bespoke multidisciplinary qualification that maybe matches your interests more or your career ambitions. I think it's a real standout, actually. You can build expertise across disciplines, and I think it's quite a modern approach, I think, for those who are not ready yet to specialise, or might decide later on they don't perhaps want to specialise. So I think one of the big questions people have is, what is it like to study at the Open University? Because it is that different model to maybe what we might have seen or understood. And of course, if you speak to anybody, you'll find by usually 1 or 2 degrees of separation, someone who has studied with the Open University. So we do have many alumni. But the key point is, I guess, flexibility, really. You can study without putting your life on hold. Many students work alongside their degree and gain experience at the same time. But here are some of the things that our students say. I'm not going to linger too much here because I'll let Daisy talk about this in much more detail in a moment. And students really talk about, we talk about what studying with the Open University gave them, they often talk about resilience, balancing study alongside work, independence, and confidence. Because, being honest, studying online develops time management, self-discipline, focus, all qualities that employers value very highly, of course. Now, speaking to the importance of careers, I did mention I was going to talk about this. Now, the vast majority of our students are gaining a qualification with us for career reasons. So we have a dedicated careers and employability services team. They support with all sorts of things, webinars, CVs. They will help with interviews, career planning, lots and lots of different areas of support that's available there in terms of supercharging your career. And we are well respected by employers. So they tell us, they tell students, they recognise the determination and the very particular organisation skills that come with balancing study and other aspects of your life. Let's talk a little bit about how much it costs. Our fees are typically lower than many campus-based universities, but actually more than 85% of students pay nothing upfront, using student finance to spread the cost, as you would at any other university. For many students in England, fees therefore will be lower than traditional campus routes, usually enabling students to stay living at home as well, and therefore reducing cost in that way as well. Fee systems are different in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, so I won't go into detail on that here, but just to say we can dip into that if we need to, or there's further information online I can provide about different fee structures and funding. So how do you apply to study at the OU? Important detail is that we don't operate through UCAS. You apply directly with the Open University. And most of the qualifications we have, the vast majority, have no formal entry requirements. So what I mean by that is we don't ask for particular grades to enter onto any of the qualifications. It's an open route. We support you to build your study. You apply directly on our website with a simple online application, and that is your registration. And there's a little bit of time needed in that process, of course, for student finance administration. But that means we take applications for October study all the way through from the end of March, so in a couple of weeks, right the way through to October. Actually, it's mid-September that closes. And then we also offer a February start date, not for every qualification, but for many of the key qualifications, you could start in February if you wished. So if you want to find out more, there's lots of ways to do that. The website, our social channels, we have a huge resource, which is OpenLearn. OpenLearn has lots of free courses on there, so short courses, which I would absolutely recommend having a look at. You can gain digital badges and build your skills, and it also gives you a really good idea of what our learning system actually looks like. So what does online learning really feel like? So you can have a look and see what might work for you. So that's all I'm going to say to sort of give that brief overview. I think I'll just sort of finish by saying, the Open University is all about choice, flexibility, and giving you the credibility of that reputation with employers and in the academic research that we do, that gives that credibility for where you want to take your learning and your life from the Open University. So without further ado, I think it'll be really interesting to hear Daisy's story, because she's one of our students. So perhaps it gives you a bit more of an inside look. So Daisy, I'll hand over to you, and you can take us through that.
Yeah, I'll just talk a bit about my own experience. I initially started my degree with the OU because I was doing my A-levels, and I got quite sick. I got quite unwell and I wasn't able to finish them. And I was sort of in a bit of a limbo where I wasn't sure what I could do, what I wanted to do. I didn't feel like I could go to an in-person brick university. And I was told about the Open Uni. And I thought, okay, this sounds different. This sounds interesting. And I checked out the OpenLearn website, which has a few free, completely free courses, small courses that actually take bits and bobs from real module materials. So you get a real feel for the sort of content. And then I decided to do a open degree. So I'm now in my second year of a 3-year degree. I'm studying full time. I also do work, which is a job that I got predominantly because I study at Open University. It's a really respected qualification to be working towards. And I also want to say that my initial plan was not to do Open University. It was to go probably to somewhere else. But a lot of students now, they choose Open University as their first choice. It's not a second choice. I've had really great experiences socially. I've been to London for an event. I've been to the campus a few times. I've applied for a summer school. So there are, chances to meet people, and there's a lot of online communities. So you don't feel like you're on your own. Tutor support is great. I've had a real variety of different tutors and different disciplines that teach at different universities. I've had tutors that work at Cardiff or Cambridge or Newcastle, and then they teach and they tutor Open Uni as well. So you really get a mixture of experiences. It's so valuable. What else? Yeah, just that I have not found any disadvantage. It really works for me. And you also meet a lot of different people, having classmates that are your age, a bit younger, in their 70s. You really have no idea. It's a real mixture. So that's what I would say is my experience. I know some students worry about the idea of studying online completely, that it will feel isolating, but it never does. You really can ask your tutors anything. That's what they're there for. And so, yeah. Oh, I should mention what I'm studying as well. So last year I did the English language module alongside the intercultural module and Chinese as well, which is my passion. I love Chinese. I love the language. And then this year, because I'm doing open degree, I can select what I want to do. I chose to continue with English language and also literature.
Thanks, Daisy. And did you want to say a little bit about the just how it is using the online learning platform and what that looks like, feels, what sort of things are in the learning when you get in there on a weekly basis?
Yeah, so depending on how many modules you're doing a year, you'll have essentially like a planner. So it's very structured. You're not completely left up to your own devices. You have like a structure about typically a weekly amount of work. You have weeks allocated to your essays and assignments, so you have enough time to complete things. Tutorials, so what typically would be called lectures in mainstream universities, a lot of the time are recorded. So if you're not able to attend a tutorial, you can then watch that. But I've found the interface to be quite straightforward, personally. Yeah.
Can I ask Daisy a question, Kerry? I'd love to know, Daisy, what your plans are after university. And you're talking about that you're working at the same time. China's your passion. Does that figure in your plans post-uni in any way?
I'd really like to go into academia and teaching. The Open University has a connection with Beijing Foreign Studies University, which is in China. So I'm hopefully going to apply for a master's after my degree, fingers crossed. But yeah, another thing that I've found about the university is just how connected everything is. And most people in one way or another will have some connection, or there was somebody that studied with the Open University. So yeah.
Thank you. That's really interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kerry and Daisy. Wonderful presentation, Kerry. Really picked off some of the key questions I think people would have wanted to ask. And Daisy, always lovely to have a real experience, a real voice in the room. So we're open to questions now. So please do type any questions you might have into the chat and I'll share those with the team. We've got some that were sent in beforehand while people are thinking of any questions they might want to ask. So I'll just have a quick read of some of those. The first one, I suppose, for both of you really, and you know, sort of Daisy, with the flexibility that you were sort of drawn to with the Open University. The National Extension College works in a similar way. So but we focus on GCSEs and A levels, and we call those progression qualifications, even though the Open University is open. There's no prior attainment required for most degrees. I'm just wondering how you feel that transition would be for some of our students. So they've made the decision, or you know, they've found that the National Extension College way of working is really flexible for them, meets their learning needs, and then looking for that transition to somewhere else. How would it feel, do you think? Different, similar? Either of you?
Well, I'll start off. I mean, I think there are some, you know, there are some similarities on there in terms of supported online and distance learning. So that element of it being primarily online, and of course having access to support all the time. So as I mentioned, support has two parts, I think. You know, you've got your tutor support, so they're providing that personalised feedback guidance. You can contact your tutor if you're struggling with content or study skills as you're working through your online platform independently. And then you've got your student support team, and they're on hand, first port of contact. If you need to speak to someone about your difficulty, difficulty with making time for study, or extra help revising for exams, or maybe just making changes to the pace in which you're studying, or various things, and they'd be really helpful in sort of that regard. So the student support team really see you throughout your journey. You know, they'll help you with what to study next, how you build your qualification. Then within your module, because every qualification is in module by module, you'll have your kind of dedicated tutor, and they're absolutely linked to what it is that you're studying. They're the expert there, and they can help you with that individual feedback. So we find the combination of that is quite unique to the Open University, but I think there are some similarities with the National Extension College. I don't know whether you've got a different perspective at all on that, Daisy.
No, I agree, and I think as well the transition from perhaps A level or GCSE level to then go to uni can be quite intimidating. In my experience, and I've spoken to others about this, there's a lot of support in the first year. There's a lot of support, especially for assessments, understanding a question, knowing what you're supposed to be doing. So yeah, I'd say that helps us a lot in the transition of work.
That's great, thank you.
Maybe I'll just also mention, Esther, we also have a very dedicated disability support team. Mm-hmm. And they provide additional support based on your disability or condition. So that means you might be entitled to support and adjustments to teaching, study materials, activities. Obviously, that requires supporting evidence of disability to access that services, but you can get things like non-medical help support for services at residential schools. You can get specialist alternative formats of our module materials, loans of equipment, alternative exam arrangement. So that team is a kind of gateway access support for all of those things that you might need. So that it won't be necessarily relevant to everybody, but it's probably worth saying.
I totally agree, yes, because a number of our students, it's the sort of thing they look for when they're choosing their progression route, is that type of additional broader support that they'll gain, perhaps if there's a disability or there's an emotional need that they sort of want to explore with somebody, and make sure they're going to get that support from the university or their chosen partner. So thank you both, that's wonderful. And Daisy, I'm really interested in your pick and mix degree, and perhaps both of you could explain how that works. I think it's, as you say, Kay, a real modern way of looking at what higher education is. I just wondered around your motivation to choose a degree in that way, Daisy.
Yeah, I really love language as a whole, and I was going to pick the language degree, and when I applied, they had recently released the first Chinese module, so I was very interested in that. But because it was brand new, it wasn't really part of an existing degree, and I thought, well, I'll just do an open degree. And every year, every academic year, you have a certain amount of credits. So for full time, I believe it's 120, and then most modules are 60 credits. So this year I'm doing 2. And yeah.
Okay, that's great. So I presume there's a list of modules you can choose. Some may build on others, some you may be able to take from a sort of foundation entry level, or others you may have to have done a module beforehand to then access the next module. But it's that variety, I suppose, to be able to study English language and Chinese studies. That's brilliant, isn't it?
It's very varied. You can do biology and French, like it can be really varied. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Anything to add to that, Kerry? Thanks.
Well, just that that's really what the student support teams and career services are there to help with as well, is helping you construct those journeys. And they'd often recommend, and I mentioned it earlier, but if you're really unsure about what to study, you can go in with an open degree, but you can change later on, as Daisy has done. So you don't necessarily have to choose up front, but there are some particular pathways or some routes, and so it's not complete flexibility, but you have to build up your credits. But it is there's lots of support on that front, and OpenLearn is a good place to go to explore the different subject areas as well.
Great, thank you. That probably is somewhere that this question might point people to as well. So often with the National Extension College students coming to us, maybe they've been out of education for a while, and they may perhaps have ambition to study a degree or further or higher education, but are using a distance learning provider as a bridge, a stepping stone to understand how they're studying now, how they fit it in their life, and so on. So how would the Open University help somebody who hasn't studied for many years? You've mentioned, Daisy, people age 70 or so in your cohort. How do you support them moving, or what would you advise them to do to prepare themselves for study at the Open University?
So I'll make a start, Daisy, and then it'd be good to hear your perspective too. But I think the first thing I would always say is you have to have the motivation and commitment. That is the sort of main thing, really. That's what takes you through. Because although we don't have the entry needing formal requirements, it is the motivation and commitment that is going to mean you succeed. We've got lots of guidance tools, and our support teams will help talk individual people through this. So I'd recommend, giving us a call or starting a web chat on the website if you want to talk about it. But there's no formal gatekeeping on grades, but I think reflecting honestly on how prepared you are to start what you mean to start. And if you're not quite ready, we offer a range of what we call access modules. And these are optional introductory modules, so they're not part of the qualification. You do them before you start the qualification, and they are designed specifically to build confidence and academic skills before committing to a full qualification. So access in particular, I would say, consider if you're returning after a very long break or you want a gentler introduction to the qualification study. There are a number of other tools which advisors can walk you through, or they're on the website, things like planning your time, so time calendars, help with academic writing and references and things like that are quite useful tools, and they're all available online as well as on OpenLearn. And finally, I'll say that we have a structured induction program for new students too. So if you try and get your application done early on, it gives you a little bit longer to complete your induction, and that involves sort of short getting ready for study things that will make you as prepared as you can be for success, really.
Great, thank you. I don't know if there's anything to pick up on there, Daisy, particularly those extra support around academic writing, things like that, really important skills to
There's
develop.
a few workshops that I've attended, I remember in my first year, online. We also have a really great library service. So you can access so many books and journals and articles. And the library runs several workshops in terms of how you can access that and use it. And also things like, I know I felt very intimidated with referencing and citing things, but really it's all there for you. So yeah.
Great, thank you. And that's that broader support that you were both noting previously. And I suppose, is there an essence that quite a lot of that support you can access again flexibly in a way that works for you? It may be live at certain times, but the pre-recorded things that you can then go to and access rather than having to wait for somebody to talk to.
Yes, and there's also numbers you can call and emails you can email, so it's really accessible to everybody regardless of your schedules or jobs and stuff.
Lovely, thank you. And I think the final question, just one I'm interested in actually, and it's something that some of our students often ask, which is that you mentioned it, Daisy, the social aspect, which I think people now access their social lives in many different ways, don't they? It's not just based on who they're seeing day to day in school or college. You may be doing lots of other activities or online, doing some socializing online. So it was quite reassuring to hear that you feel a connection to people you're studying with and those at the university. Anything else you want to add to that?
You get a forum. When you have a module, you're allocated a forum in your tutor group and then also a module one. So you can often conversate with other students. And there's also a lot of like Facebook kind of communities and clubs that students have made themselves. So yeah, there's a lot out there. Good.
Just like a standard university, you can dip into what you want to dip into, I suppose. It's really your choice, your personal choice. Thank you. So, Kerry.
I was just going to say that we have a student union like every other university as well, and all OU students are automatically members of Open SU, and they represent kind of students and contribute. Also, they offer access to all of the many clubs and societies that have been set up by students, support groups, and there's lots of different social activities. Again, you can access as you wish through there. And if students want, they can set up new clubs and societies, just like another university as well. And I always enjoy telling the story of a friend of the family started her Open University degree a couple of years ago. And she joined the Christian Society with the OU, and that's where she met her now husband through that society. And so they're now happily married. Both have their degree, and probably just a really nice example. It's a genuine story of just how you can engage with things and life changing in different ways.
That's lovely. I think that's a lovely way to end, actually. What a great statement to end the session on. Thank you so much. Thank you, Daisy, for sharing your story. Have the best of luck. And wonderful if you can get to study your master's and have that link in China with the university there. So good luck. I'd love to hear from Kerry how you progress. And thank you so much, Kerry. It's been really interesting. We will share the slides with those who've booked online for the session. And this presentation will be available on the National Extension College YouTube channel. So if you want to go back or share with other people, just copy the link and share as you would like. Thank you again so much. It's been absolutely fascinating, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thanks all.
Thank you.